statements have said, the government has taken action to regulate GMOs. The FDA has a voluntary labeling plan, and we think that this is the plan that should stay in place instead of creating a mandatory labeling law. And as we explained before, the voluntary labeling plan works well because, as stated in an article labeled "No Need to Label GMOs," mandatory labeling is appropriate and required when there is a false claim or misbranding. The fact that a food contains GE ingredients does not constitute a material change in the product. So this again shows that genetically modified foods are not different from regular crops, and this is just a misconception that a part of our population has constructed. So I wanted to give you guys an example of one of the labels that could be put on the products. One of them could be, "These tomatoes were genetically engineered to improve texture," and this one is required because there is a change on the tomatoes. There's another one that you could say, "Some of our growers plant tomato seeds that were developed through biotechnology to increase crop yield." And the entire statement is an example of optional information. The fact that there was increased yield does not affect the characteristics of the food, and is therefore not necessary on the label to adequately describe the food for the consumers. Also, the government has taken action to regulate GMOs. As mentioned in the article "Food Fight Brewing Over Genetically Modified Ingredients," this article explains how the FDA and the U.S. Department of Agriculture continue to state that there is no difference between GMOs and foods that are genetically engineered. As they express, putting a label on a product implies there is some difference where none exists. And if people are suggesting that sugar from a genetically modified beet is somehow different, is incorrect. The voluntary labeling plan should continue to stay in place because it has not been completely proven that GMOs cause diseases on people, or that they will produce negative effects. Also, the plan should stay in place because consumers don't really understand what GMOs are, and by labeling genetically modified foods, we will continue to misguide consumers and falsely alarm them of risks that have not been proven by scientists around the world. Also, mandatory labeling of GMOs will raise the price of products, since it will cost more money to repackage food products to food producers, to change the placards in retail stores to show that they have raw foods that are genetically engineered, and to label these products in general. This was said by Newsdesk. But yes, it is true that people should be aware of what they eat and the products that come into their homes. But by labeling foods that have genetically modified ingredients, we create a stigma that says that GMOs are bad for our society, when in reality GMOs have helped and are helping many communities around the world, as explained by David Silverman, a U.S. Berkeley agricultural and environmental economist, who argues that the benefits of GM crops greatly outweigh the health risks, which so far remain theoretical. The use of GM crops has lowered the price of food, according to Silverman. He also states that it has increased farmer safety by allowing them to use less pesticides. It has raised the output of corn, cotton, and soy by 20 to 30%, allowing some people to survive who would not have without it. So as a final statement, we would like to say that if GMOs were more widely adopted around the world, the price of food would go lower, less vitamin A deficiencies would exist, and fewer people would die of hunger.